Forgot what I came. It is 6:31, and we're calling our Elgin City Council meeting to order. And we will begin with Councilmember Love.
Love here.
McShann here.
Kaznowski here.
Gibson here.
Swain here.
Okay, and Councilmember Dennis is out on medical leave. And we're missing Councilman Callahan and Rodriguez. So, do we have a motion?
Do we know where they are?
We have not heard from them. Those two.
So Mayor, I'll make a motion to excuse Councilmember Dennis.
Okay.
I'll second.
All right, and we will begin with Councilmember Gibson.
Gibson, yes.
Swain, yes.
Love, yes.
McShann, yes.
Kaznowski, yes.
And the motion on the other two?
With no communication, not to approve.
Okay.
We don't necessarily have to make a motion for that.
Okay.
Okay.
You can return to this before the end of the night
If
if
they
that's
show up.
council's preference.
Okay. All right, and we have our invocation. Chuck?
Dear Heavenly Father, please watch over our deliberations and guide us to make the best decisions for our Elgin community. Please watch over our growing community as it has become ever so large, and continue to watch over our first responders. Please help us as a community, state, and nation to come together. We are one. It's okay to have different opinions, but we must work together. And lastly, thank you for this lovely weather, but a bit of rain would be nice. And remind everyone to get out and vote. In your blessed name, amen.
Okay. Stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Honor the Texas flag. I pledge allegiance to thee, Texas, one state, under God, one and indivisible. We have a public hearing to review performance and obtain comments regarding the 2021 Texas Community Development Block Grant contract.
Thank you, Mayor. Allison Land is here tonight from GrantWorks, our consultant, our grant consultant. We're just fulfilling a procedural obligation here to have a public hearing on a project that we've already finished.
Yes,
So,
good evening,
go ahead.
everyone.
Good evening.
This is the final public hearing for the Texas Department of Agriculture Community Development Block Grant, contract CDV 21-0026, better known as the Elgin Wastewater SCADA project. As Mr. Mattis mentioned, this is just a procedural requirement of the program. So the project installed SCADA equipment at 12 facilities to include the city lift stations and wastewater treatment plant, as well as central communications server and associated appurtenances. This addressed the need identified in the application for a centralized monitoring of the wastewater system to minimize service disruptions to the wastewater network. The beneficiaries for the project are everybody who is served by the City of Elgin wastewater network. There is a project map as well as a performance plan and budget in your packets and also available here at the meeting if you would like them. But the map essentially just shows all of the lift station locations and the wastewater treatment locations where these improvements occurred. The grant that provided most of the funding for this project totaled $350,000. $261,750 went to the construction budget, $55,000 went to the engineering budget, $33,250 went to the administration budget. The City of Elgin had a required match contribution of $70,000 and was also able to contribute an additional $280,782, bringing the full contribution up to $350,782 to be able to complete the project. Does anyone have any questions or comments?
Allison, I assume you can't speak to the real technical parts of what we built, but our public works director probably can. Just one, I always forget what SCADA stands for. Can you just give council the plain language?
Yeah.
This is a huge benefit for.
It's supervisory control and data acquisition. So same thing on the water side. When we want to reach out and see what the water towers are doing, we can now do this on the wastewater side. Before, it was just call or go by and look, which we're still going to do, but now we've got an electronic version that comes back to our monitor.
So both water and wastewater now, we can
Yeah.
pretty much sit in the control room,
Right.
monitor everything in the system electronically. So
Yeah.
it's a big project, big addition to our system.
Going to enhance our operation. Like I said, we're still going to do daily rounds and go out and look at the lift stations for sure, but this just added benefit.
Thank you. Thanks, Allison.
Okay, we didn't have anybody sign up to talk, okay, so that ends that public hearing. And public comment, do we have anybody sign up for any public comment? Moving right along. All right, city manager.
Thank you, Mayor. First item on the manager's report is an update on our flock safety cameras system. This is an important system that we added in the last year for law enforcement enhancement that the chief had planned to give this report to the council, but in the meantime, we had also had a request for some statistical analysis and data comparing last year, the last couple of years. So Chief has kind of combined those two things in one report that he's here to give tonight.
Good evening, Mayor, Council. And I'd like to start with the flock safety camera statistics first. And with your handout, we currently have 13 cameras in operation, stationed at various places around the city. And what's unique about them is that none of them are on TxDOT right away. And there's a reason for that, when we got into the program, we started with a pilot program. And so the cameras to be installed quickly and efficiently and to begin using them, they're all on city rights of way. So at some point when cameras are, either additional cameras are added or cameras are moved up onto TxDOT right away, then the statistics will become almost more than exponential on the number of hits. Anyway, the flock safety cameras that were erected and went live when we were on a 90-day pilot program, which we took possession of the cameras at the end of May of this year. I'm sorry, they went live in the end of May. And then in September is when we took possession of them, and that's when the stats began to accrue. So during that time, there were a total of 16,284 what we call unique vehicles a day. Those were vehicles that had something associated with their license plates. And a total of 491,000 vehicles themselves have been read by the cameras since they were installed. It's a lot of traffic coming through here, particularly not being read on TxDOT rights of way, or TxDOT roadways. So then you see various photographs of one of our Sergeant Decker going and taking pictures at various camera sites. And then then there will be a map that you'll see later showing him being tracked around the city by using those cameras. So we are able to monitor the movements of specific vehicles that may have some sort of an alert or some tag that related to that video or to that vehicle. And there's a number of reasons a vehicle could be tagged, but as you'll see later on in the graph, registered sex offenders can be tracked. Vehicles owned or registered to victims of family violence and to the suspects in family violence. So we can track their whereabouts as well, if and when the need ever arises. But there again, if you remember when we set this up, our data is only held for 30 days as well, and then it goes away. And if you look at the map, or I'm sorry, the bar graph on regarding the number of hits per day, if you notice, it goes back to, or begins August 23rd, and that's when we took possession, or the data became ours. And through, when this report was ran on October the 16th. And the discriminator on there is what's called non-owned and official hot markings. Non-owned means that those are alerts that were put on by other agencies that we share data with and that shares data with us. And there's a scatter chart in there that you'll see where, of the area, not to jump around, of how many other agencies we share data with and share us. It's the agency system sharing slide. And currently, law enforcement cameras in use in the state of Texas is 6,390, and we share access with 93.5, essentially, percent of those agencies. So it's a good resource for our follow-up investigations. And again, to remember, these are not traffic enforcement cameras, even though that they are referred to as traffic cameras in our license plate reader policy that we do have in place. So going back to, which one are you on?
This one.
The unique hits by type, I think, is interesting. It's a very good demonstration of what the cameras are identifying, particularly with the numbers of, for those that are have protective orders in place, and or who are folks the subject of protective orders. And there's a term we use, it's called homicide interrupted, when we are able to come in contact with somebody who may be stalking a partner or other family member, and hopefully prevent something very bad from happening, which does unfortunately happen frequently. Then, let's see, what we consider a success is an arrest, a lead, a warrant, or a stop that has occurred that has been explicitly associated with a hit on one of our flock devices. And as you can see, that since May all the way through, that the number of hits and is fairly good. Unfortunately, the data is, like I said, only goes back to the first part of September in that pilot period, even though we do have some data, but it'll become much more significant in the future.
Can you share, I can't see what the colors mean, to that last slide?
Okay, on the outcome side?
Yep.
Okay. As far as what's leads generated, which is going to be 50%, those are backward-looking or follow-up investigation. Oh. And I'm sorry, what was your question again?
So what do the different colors mean?
Okay. The dark green is cleared by arrest, and so with those, we have 12 cases that, for the data that we have collected. Then with regard to, again, the colors aren't showing up on, good on mine. On the lightest color on the top is leads generated, and which is when we go back and look for a particular vehicle as a result of a report that was taken by an officer or something that was put out over the radio, that we can go back and track a license plate and put that license plate into the system. We can even drill it down to a bumper sticker or a particular type of body damage on a car, and that the system will pull it out. And also in what's called the more traditional green, it's investigation in progress. And what that means is we have a current investigation going where that vehicle is tied to it. And so we were able to track that vehicle at certain locations around the city. And then the blue is cleared by arrest, and that is, as stated, where arrest is made as a result of that camera, or that camera is considered, the photograph is utilized as evidence in that case.
Outcomes.
Outcomes, those are just some examples of, again, going back to the successes by type, leads generated 15, cleared by arrest 7, and other means, and that goes back to that other slide as well. And if you advance it one. What this is kind of details different ways that the vehicles can be scanned for, and either by location, again, body damage, bumper stickers, license plates, et cetera, color, make, model, and type of the car. And here's what I was telling you about the on the next one. That was the patrol vehicle. Had photographs taken of it at various camera sites, and then we overlay that with the map of how that vehicle was tracked around the city. And that becomes valuable if we're trying to track the movements of a suspect where we're not sure where they have been, or if we're looking for other crimes that may have been committed, such as burglary of vehicles or things of that nature. And again, back to the agency sharing, which we've discussed that as well. And any further questions on that? Okay.
This is a system that you use instantaneously too, right? I mean,
Yes.
show up on a scene. I think you caught a vehicle you were looking for
Yes.
almost immediately.
And the most recent notable one that I can think of is that there had been a shooting incident out in the county, and we're listening to it over the radio, and we have the suspect license plates put out, so we type it into the system, and we'll get an immediate alert if it enters our city limits. And then, so we can assist other agencies, even though Bastrop County does not have the system, nor does Travis County.
It's just not looking for people with warrants, or
No.
you can use it.
No, though people with warrants can be tied to the system, but it's not going to be minor stuff.
So when you say enter the license plate number, is that anybody, any one of your officers where they are, or it has to be somebody in the office doing?
They can do it remotely.
Okay.
In the car. Yeah, it's just, we have a person who's kind of our guru with it, and she sometimes spends a little too much time with it. All righty. Then on to requested activity information. I think the common misconception is you add more officers and your crime rate goes down. Well, actually, it goes up. That's because you have more eyes now out and about looking, and so they generate more activity, and thus your crime rate goes up. So that being said, it does make the city safer, nevertheless. So we tracked it over a 3-year period, or 2 full calendar years, and then year-to-date for 2024. And just looking at just simple math for number of arrests made, total of 349 in 2022. 72 of those were felony, 277 were misdemeanor, and of that, 111 were warrants. In 2023, well, go back, in 2022 is when the significant push was made to start adding more officers. And so fast forward a year later, and we're up almost, let's see, that's traffic stops. You're essentially adding a couple hundred each year to the number of arrests. If you notice, in 2023, it jumped to 560 from 349. Felonies nearly doubled. Misdemeanors, of course, almost doubled as well. And warrant arrest increased significantly as well. In 2024, it's doing about the same level of performance increase. I think then if we go to the traffic stops, I think this is where the biggest significant increase has occurred. And in 2022, at 2,600, just over 2,600 traffic stops, and of those traffic stops, 1,358, or roughly just 50%, were warnings. In 2023, almost doubled in the number of traffic stops, but also of those, 3,241 were warnings, or about 62% of the traffic stops. And I'll clarify or expand on the warnings here in a moment. In 2024, year-to-date, we've had over 6,000 total traffic stops, and just under 3,900 of those were warnings. And of course, then you can see the projected, what we project to be through the end of the year. And of the actual traffic stops for this year, 85% of those are warnings. And I think that's important because we rely on education more than enforcement to gain voluntary compliance on our traffic stops. It's not about generating money. It's about generating compliance and making safer streets. And any questions relating to that? Okay.
I'll give you a hard one.
I'm sorry, sir?
I'll give you a hard one.
Okay.
Sorry.
So since starting next year, we're not going to have state inspections. Are you foreseeing an increase in giving tickets for
Equipment violations?
Safety-related violations?
If I mean, the traffic stops will continue, for equipment violations, because you're still required, to have the lights and things of that nature, and most of your car parts are supposed to be there as well. But I don't see that that's going to change, because those who don't keep their car well maintained, now it's not going to change next year after inspections go away, and those who do keep their car maintained will continue to do so as well.
Chief, one thing you and I talked about before recently is that you're saying the increase in activity is directly attributable to increase in our service levels and staffing.
That is correct.
And the qualifications of our staff and the professionalism. But one of the basic reasons we're seeing more arrests too, and one of the basic reasons is that for the longest time, when Elgin had 2 police officers on the street, we couldn't afford to take everybody to jail that had a warrant, because then that'd leave us with 1 police officer for an hour or 2. So part of our staffing increase now enables us to execute those warrants, particularly warrants from other agencies that we're compelled to take people to jail. So that's another thing that we may be seeing more activity from, but it's directly attributable to the fact that we have more resources now.
That's correct. And the incident that I forwarded to you and then you forwarded out was where 15, between 2 traffic stops, 15 traffic warrants, Elgin traffic warrants were cleared. And you don't get, one of them I think had 8 warrants. You don't get 8 warrants at one time. Those were the result of several traffic stops over a period of time that were, and then on the subsequent, 1 warrant would be issued for 1 traffic stop and 2 warrants would be issued for the next traffic stop. Well, that means that when we came into contact with that individual, they were not arrested for those warrants because we didn't have the wherewithal to be able to take them to jail or have them come into municipal court and pay the warrants and get them cleared up. So, short, to answer your question, yes, we have the ability to now get those warrants cleared out and doing so quite effectively.
We've, for years, had file cabinets full of warrants that we just
Yes.
didn't have the resources to execute. So part of that is, I assume, the word's getting out, and hopefully that means more and more people are ignoring those warrants and taking care of them so we don't have to arrest people.
We can only hope.
Thanks, Chief. You keep going, Mayor? One item I just wanted to mention to the council is that it's time for us to look at proposals for renewing our contract on residential curbside collection of solid waste and recyclables. I included a copy of the current contract in your packets, and as you can see, that contract expires next September of 25. So the staff intends to start the process now for soliciting and considering other proposals. Would follow a routine process that we typically would follow, and that would to assess the situation and consider different proposals, and then do the analysis of those proposals and bring that issue back to council for their consideration. We would just say if the city, if there's consideration being given to changing service providers on this, then we'd have to allow for adequate time for that transition to take place. So I just say that in the sense that we need to have a decision made by June, at least, by the 1st of June. So just want the council to be aware that we're going to start that process now, and we'll be bringing something back, hopefully first quarter of next year. In case anybody had any questions or comments about that. That's all I had on that part.
Anyone can pick it up. I'm really concerned about the recycling part of it. Are we doing what we need to be doing?
Yeah, I think we know, well, what I found interesting at TML conference this year, that we pretty much, this business had gotten down to 3 or 4 providers, and I saw 2 or 3 brand new companies I'd never heard of down there still. So, not that I'm suggesting we start out with anybody who's running a brand new company. It was just an interesting part of the business. So, so it's been this contract we've had with Republic, and which was bought out by Waste Management, is for a 7-year period. So it's a 7-year contract. So obviously it's been a long time since we've looked at the services, and so it's appropriate that we do that now. And so by starting now should give us plenty of time to do that.
Chuck, what's your concern with the recyclables?
when we say we're recycling, I want us to recycle. Not just grab it, throw it in a bin, and eventually wind up in landfill.
That'll be part of the discussion with everybody. Okay, next item was the EMS Council Committee Report. We just put this on the agenda to mainly let the rest of the council know that we had a committee meeting last week and have agreed kind of on a preliminary plan moving forward. By default, the Mayor Pro Tem became chairman of the committee, and so I don't know, Sue, if you got anything to share. We just wanted to let you know we met, and we've all agreed, and the council has continually endorsed the fact that there's no decision to be made until after the election, and we decide, and we find out what is going on with ESD3 and the county, but just want to make sure y'all knew we were moving the discussion forward.
Everybody on the committee, that we had a discussion where we're going to put on paper all the different ways we could go. And we discussed to make sure that we speak to any entity that we needed to speak to make sure our decisions are sound, including people who are subject matter experts with ESDs. And then to make sure that we talk to different service providers as far as EMS goes, that we all want to see get all the questions answered before we come back and really make a sound decision with the council. And we want to be able to answer all of the council's questions that any of you might have. So I've created a journal with note-taking so we can have all of that. If any of you have anything that you want to make sure that we cover, please let me know, or Alicia, or Chuck, and so that we can get it all documented and make sure that we don't leave anything non-investigated.
Okay. The upcoming city council meeting schedule, I just we run into this kind of scenario at this time of year every year. Just wanted to give council kind of a heads up of the way it typically works out. So our next meeting is not until November 12th. If you remember, we agreed to, the normal meeting day would be November 9th, but we pushed it back to the 12th so we wouldn't conflict with Election Day. And so presuming that we're not all under martial law by November 12th, we'll have a council meeting that night. Then if you do the 2-week thing, 2 weeks later is the Tuesday of Thanksgiving week. And in the past, if we didn't have pressing issues, we'd skip that meeting. And then the regular scheduled meeting in December would be December 3rd, and you kind of have the same scenario play out where the next meeting would be December 17th, and if we don't have issues pressing, we've skipped that in the past. So obviously coordinate this with the mayor, but for now, the staff is kind of and we can have obviously called meetings anytime we need to. But if it's agreeable to the council, the staff will be kind of focused on November 12th and December 3rd as our last 2 meetings before the end of the calendar year. That's agreeable to everybody.
Questions?
Yeah, that's fine. One request I have, can we, I don't know if it's possible on the interface we have on the internet or on our webpage, but can we post what our meetings are, like for the entire year? Because I think when we make
Sure.
these changes, then council members included are like, wait, it's not the first and third, and then it changes. And then I need to go back and see it, or maybe the public. And so if we're able to, and that, I mean, if that's a PDF or something, it'll probably need to be updated, but just so all of that can be out there?
As you know, under the charter, we're compelled to adopt a schedule at the beginning of the year for the regular meetings. So those council specifically decides we'll be doing that probably in December for next year. But the second meeting is a routine meeting, but it's kind of we're only compelled to have one meeting a month under the charter. So yeah, we already have that part. But we try to notify when they change, but sure, we can keep a running schedule of it. Sure.
I think that'd be really helpful.
Okay, that's all I had on my report, Mayor, unless anybody had questions for me that wasn't on the agenda.
We don't have anything on our consent agenda, so let's move on to the new business.
Oh, wait a minute. I don't know if you're aware, but there's this festival thing this weekend.
Oh.
The Hawkeye Festival. Christina, did you want to say a couple things? Man, I just about got in trouble with Amy there. Skipping over that.
Yes, thank you. I'm here to speak on Amy's behalf. Everyone knows this fun little party we're doing downtown starting on Thursday night. We have the dessert contest, we have the hog calling contest, and we have the Pearls Before Swine opening gala. Then we have the free street dance on Friday, and then all day we expect to see y'all at least out for half the day on Saturday. It is going to be bigger and better than ever, and y'all will see the board back on the 12th to talk about our success this year.
I have Cow Patty bingo tickets.
Cow Patty bingos. Well, we have the kids parade. We have the People's Choice Bike and Motorcycle Show. We even have cornhole this year. So there's too much to list here without taking up too much time, but please visit the Facebook page, check your Downtown 78621, and look for more updates coming every day. So I hope to see y'all there. Cow Patty bingo, buy a ticket.
Thanks, Christina.
Solicitate. Got your tickets.
Christina, is there a schedule of all the things?
If you actually go to the Facebook page, every event has its own event under the Facebook page, so you can verify times, you can find entry forms, everything is on the Facebook.
Okay.
And make sure you bring your son out there for the children's parade.
Well, that's what I want. I'm like, what time is that?
It's at, registration starts at 8:30 a.m. and we will start judging at 9.
All right.
Sharp.
No sleeping in.
Arthur. I want him there at 6.
You want me to see?
I want you there too.
Oh, no, girlfriend. Sorry, not this year. I'm capping on. There we go. Okay, sorry. We digress as we know with the Hawkeyes. Okay.
Hey, the cook-off moved, just so you know, the cook-off moved, we will be right here.
Oh,
Oh,
okay.
all right. And to judge, they just have to walk up and tell you they want to be a judge? Or have we got it?
10 minutes before top of the hour.
Because I've had some people ask me about, they want to, I
You
think they
need to
just
be
want to
outside
eat.
those doors, 10 minutes prior to the category you want to judge, all category times are. And her list is on the Facebook page.
All right. Okay, so our next new business, a resolution of the City of Elgin, Texas, authorizing the city manager to execute a master professional services agreement and work authorization with Gradient Solutions Corporation of Mansfield, Texas, for finance-related services and making certain findings related thereto.
Thank you, Mayor. This item is the result of some lengthy discussion we had in the budget adoption process this year. The staff, as you know, we've struggled the last couple of years with recruiting and retaining leadership at the top of our finance department, and seeing no change in that environment in the near future. We decided to go down a different path and see if there was a way for us to secure a high level of professional services on a consulting basis that could help the city manage and address our issues that typically we'd get from conventional leadership from a finance director, but to do this in a way that was both cost effective for the city and enabled us to actually secure services that we believe are going to be superior to a single individual. This concept is one that I think can be compared to city attorney services, where the city, we could hire one individual attorney to be in-house attorney for us, but by hiring the firm the way we do, we get services from a lot broader scale for essentially a more cost-effective price. So we've negotiated and reached an agreement for these services with Gradient Solutions, and we feel really good about it and are excited about where this is going to take us. Tonight, Cal Webb's here and is going to make a little presentation to you, and then be able to ask any questions about what we're proposing.
Thank you. Mayor, Council, thanks for having us. That's a hard act to follow after the festival with accounting and processes and controls. I'm going to be brief, which as you get to know me, it's difficult sometimes, but I will be very brief. So our company's been around 21 years, of which I've been there 15 years, and our specialty is local government in various areas of the state, all the way down south of here. And we specialize in 4 main areas. Tom, you might want to go to I think it's the 3rd slide. I will happy to answer questions about the presentation. But we get involved in, again, a lot of internal audit processes, controls, finance-related operations. I do want to make a note, we are a private investigations company. The reason we are is for some of the forensic things we do for various reasons. But again, our expertise is in local government in those 4 main areas. So we help a lot of different entities, a lot of different sizes, in a lot of different ways, right? As we've discussed with staff, our goal is to figure out what makes sense for each organization. They're all different, regardless of size. So what we've talked about is coming in initially as a group and a team and figuring out what makes sense. What do you need? Why? Right? Because everybody is different. And so you're looking at the 2 individuals here that would help you. Yes, I'm based in Dallas, Fort Worth area, so Mansfield. Lori's going to introduce herself in a second. She lives in Georgetown. My wife was from Round Rock. We go to Georgetown all the time. We're in the area, sisters in Austin area. But these are the 2 team members that would be helping you. So, Lori, you want to give a little background?
Microphone's awfully tall. There we go. So I'm Lori Lankford, and I began my career in the city of Georgetown. I was there for about 14 years, and then I went to the city of Round Rock. And so after about 22 years in a city, I retired, and then I decided I wanted to go help other cities in a consulting capacity. And I get jazzed about going in and training and being of assistance and that type of thing. So my husband grew up in Georgetown, and his family lives there. I've lived there 25 years. My daddy lives in McDade. And so when I told him we may have the possibility to work in Elgin, at least I'll be here twice a month at least, he was very excited because we get to have dinner or lunch. So I'm in the area, I know the area, and if you have any questions for me, let me know.
Thanks, Lori.
Well, thank you. We're, again, I think the main thing, we'd be happy to answer any questions. Again, the initial plan would be to come in and work together as a team to figure out what makes sense. So no assumptions. We tend to find that works best in cities, again, of all sizes, regardless, small to large, right? Everybody's different and unique. So we're happy to answer any questions. Again, it would be Lori and I primarily dealing with you, helping in all the ways we do, from processes, controls, data analytics, financial advisement in the finance area, all of it. We get involved in everything you can imagine over the last 21 years relating to municipal government. Tom, you want to add anything, or happy to answer questions?
No, I'd just say that this, although that Cal already talked about generalities here, they also are very familiar with our individual situation and how we've got a good team and a good staff that there aren't problems with, but we just lack the kind of oversight that we need that we haven't had for a while. And so so they know what we perceive, the current staff perceives as our short-term areas that need focus, but we're excited about them coming in and using their expertise to share input and guidance on other things other problems we probably hadn't identified yet. And this concept works in such a way that they'll provide the oversight, they'll provide professional leadership. They won't be supervising employees individually. That's not part of their engagement. I will share that this is, it's something we've learned, and I believe part of our challenge in today's job market. I'm going to put you all on the spot, but part of this organization is the same pattern we're hearing from different people is, I want to do the work, I want to train people, I want to help people, but I don't want to have to supervise people anymore. And that's not an uncommon piece of feedback we're getting in different ways. If you recall, we had to reorganize the structure of our library for the very same reason. We couldn't find somebody that could do the library work that still wanted to supervise people as well. So we think they'll really fit this niche need we have right now. The engagement, the work authorization that's part of the contract we have tonight is for a full year, $10,000 a month. But it has a 30-day notice separation clause for either party. So we think we'll keep them busy at least for a year. I wouldn't say we necessarily view this as the permanent long-term solution for the city, but it'll certainly help us bridge the gap that we have today and get to that next step. And so this engagement will last as long as they're happy working here and we're happy with their work, but we're only making, theoretically, it's a 30-day contract. Well, it has a 30-day out for both parties. As far as the overall cost for the city goes in our budget, this scenario that we included in the budget from the beginning, we felt like it would represent a cost savings for us, and we think it will. Easily $40,000 to $50,000, if not more, depending on how long the engagement is, of what we probably would have paid a full-time salary and benefits to a finance director. So we feel really good about bringing Gradient in, and mainly because I think they're excited to come here and try to help us out. So yeah, either way, either one of us would be glad to answer any questions if you have.
I have a question, just for clarification. You're not a finance company, you're a consultant company?
Yeah, so we're not an accounting firm, even though I'm a CPA and Lori is a certified government finance officer. We just don't do any accounting-related items, so we refer to ourselves as a consulting company.
So when I was reading this, we will still be responsible for all the accounting, y'all just looking over it.
Sure, Lori, you want to?
So the way that we've discussed it is I will come in and I'll be a part of your team and evaluate all of your processes, train, look at what's happening within the department, produce work as needed, help write journal entries, help get the finances going, advise Tom and Pam on the financial needs of the city, help them get through the audit, assist in the budget preparation. So I'll be an extension of the finance team to help bring the finance knowledge that's needed to the table. Does that answer your question?
It does.
It's just, I'm not coming in and doing your books. I'm not coming in and being your bookkeeper. I'm coming in and training your staff on best practices in helping them in that capacity.
So with the training piece, right? You say we're training, who are we training? Just like our
finance staff, our people. Yeah.
Accounts payable, payroll, audit staff, helping with Pam or Tom, whoever's in charge of the audit from the city side, the different entries that are needed, those types of things.
Yeah, I guess, Arthur, I'd say, again, I think their role will be to help us, anybody that handles money. I don't know if, you know, that would include utility building. I mean, again, we're gonna expect them to make observations and give advice, to follow the money kind of a thing.
Right, when an
And
audit comes
so
into
it's-
play, it involves money, it involves revenues coming into the city, it involves expenses going out. So I can go in and evaluate the processes of utility billing, or evaluate the processes of accounts payable, like I was saying. So we're using the 90-day window to really start identifying what the next 90 days looks like, you know, the 3 to 6 month window. But the way we work the best is we see what the city needs, and then I adjust, or Cal adjusts, to meet those needs. And we have models where we come in and we look at accounts payable from start to finish, try to identify any holes in your controls, any places that fraud could occur, those types of things. And we can look at processes, all of the processes that involve revenues or expenses in that level. Does that make sense, or am I answering your question?
Yes.
Okay.
So
I'd say too, again, getting back to the line gets drawn that it's not their job to supervise the staff.
Right.
There'll be, this is almost like us having an internal auditor. Like the auditor, every year, the auditor ends up with a bunch of comments and says, you should do these things this way, and here's areas where you're not compliant with the law. At the end of the day, whether we listen to the auditor or not is our choice, so that'll be the same with them.
Right.
They'll certainly be advising us, and like I said, I look forward to them following the money anywhere it goes, and helping us, if necessary, helping us tighten ship that way. So there's no restrictions on how they'll work or what they'll get into, except the fact that it'll still be up to us to manage our own staff.
And I do have experience with your current auditor, and I have worked with your current auditor in a different engagement. So I do have that relationship as well.
So, yeah, a couple questions. So in the contract, it says the work authorization will extend through January of 2025 unless canceled, but I'm also hearing that we're going to do this for a year. And January 2025 is in, what, 3 months?
Yeah, that's
I can-
typo.
Well, what it
We
is
started
is-
out with a 3-month engagement, and then we negotiated and changed it to include 12 months, because I don't think they can do what I want them to do in 3 months. So that's why we included the 12-month, 120,000, but also then we included the part about 30-day notice we could sever the contract.
Right. So the way that it works is we do a 12-month master professional services agreement, a 12-month MPSA. And then we layer on top the work authorizations. So the first work authorization is for the first 90 days, so that we can come in and do the evaluation. And then after that, we will then, if the scope of the engagement changes, or Tom or you guys have a different level of direction, we'll come in with work authorization number 2 that will build off of the work I've done in the first 90 days. So the MPSA gives us a year to work together, and then we layer in the authorizations on top. The 30-day out is just a contract language that we have to give you comfort level that you're not stuck with us for a year if you don't want to continue using our services.
So, I mean, I think what's not clear to me is we've been told we cannot find a finance director, and so we're going to contract out. But it sounds like this is a temporary solution, so I'm wondering, what is the long-term solution?
Find a finance director.
And so I guess my question there is that position still posted, and are we still recruiting for that position?
No.
My question is, have we looked, or you looked into TML? This is what they're here to do and help with. is to find positions for cities when requested. I know a few cities recently where TML just helped them find certain positions for them. So have we not contacted TML to request assistance?
I'm not aware that they help people find positions. I've never heard of that.
They do. And we talk to them while at TML. The cities have to reach out to them. So that's why I'm asking, like, did anybody reach out to them?
We
Leander
advertise
just-
with them. I just told you, I don't know, I've never heard of that before.
Okay.
You're saying they operate like a recruiting agency?
They
Go
help
on.
you. They will send, like, okay, so Leander just did for a city manager. They went out to TML, asked it for assistance, and TML gave them 90 applications for people that's looking to become a city manager. And they just went through that. Why can't we do that same thing as with the finance director? They have positions for city secretaries
I'm
and
not
other
familiar
positions
with
as well. I mean, but is that something that you can do? Because this, I mean, for me, this is, I mean, why don't we have any, do we not look for something local? I mean, this is 2 days out of the month for $10,000, and you're only coming 2 days out of the month. And it's not a finance director position. This is a consultant, basically like another audit. So now we're gonna have 2 audits, is what it's looking like. So that's where my question is coming from. Basically reaching out to TML, this is who we are affiliated with, and seeing if we can get something local. Have we not looked at those avenues? But you answered no to TML. And so then the second question will be, have we not looked at anything local, companies here?
Yes. Been trying to recruit this position for 2 years. Could have had all these questions answered, more discussion, had you called me or asked these questions before the meeting.
But I have the
Before
right
we
to
had
ask the
these folks
questions
come out.
and for other people to understand the
And
same
you're
answer.
misrepresenting it by saying 2 days a month for $10,000.
But that's what she said.
That's
She
not-
said twice a month, and then the monthly state, it's in here, twice a month, 10,000 per month. That's what it states. I'm not misrepresenting anything.
You
That's what it
absolutely
states.
are. That's not what it says.
She stated the exact same thing. You agreed.
She'll be here 2 days a month. That's not,
Right.
doesn't mean that's all the work she's doing.
But that's what we're stating. When finance director is someone who's permanently here,
Mayor.
that is what we're stating.
Can we
Mayor?
get on with the question?
But that was the question.
This
I
is
asked,
unfortunate. I mean, with the vote.
Tom, I think we're all, well, I'm not gonna speak for everybody, I'm gonna speak for myself. I am $120,000 for not full-time work, I think is what Elisha is getting towards. And it sounds like what's being presented is consultants to come in and maybe help us with our processes and kind of almost to create a plan to say, hey, this is where you guys need to like shore some things up, or here's some new ways of doing things, that sort of thing. I think that's one thing as a consultation. But I think what we've been told is that we're going to hire out our finance head because we can't find someone. And so my question is, well, how, if the position, I believe our last position was vacated sometime in April. I don't know how long that position was left open. I don't know how many people applied. And so then my next question is, well, if it's not open now, what is the plan to open that back up? My other thing was gonna be, how many other proposals have we gotten from consultants? This is a lot of money to spend on one proposal from a consultant. I would like to have at least 3 to review, just like we talked earlier about with the waste management contract, that we get bids and then we compare.
Do you mind if I make one clarifying
Sure.
comment? What the intent is for me to spend 10 to 15 hours a week. Some of it would be remote, but I would be physically in the office at least 16 hours a week, a month. So the intent is for me to be available on a weekly basis to the team. And so but I will give you at least 16 hours on average in person. I think that was what we were trying to specify, was that I will be on site some. I won't be doing it all remote. And so that's what I hope that helps clarify that part.
Tom, do we need to do an in-depth audit, let these guys do an audit as this process is going, or the whole process is gonna be?
What's that? I'm sorry.
Do these guys need to do an in-depth audit of how our stuff works, basically 2 audits, or they're just
No.
gonna hit the ground and run?
No, it wouldn't be. Again, typically, people would view a separate set of eyes with skills of an auditor overlooking your business is a really good thing. But no, I just use that as an example of an explanation of what it'll be. I think it's, Mayor, I think it's pretty clear that there's an effort to undermine the staff on this issue. It's gone on since the budget. It's clear that we're not going to have 5 votes here tonight. This is a management issue, a management decision that we brought forward, a plan to address that. If the council doesn't want to do that, then that's council's prerogative. But I just don't think it's productive to engage in a debate and an argument about it at this point. I'm not interested in doing that. I'm satisfied we've done the proper research. We've done the job that we're supposed to do. If the council have a different idea about what we should do, then all they need to do is say what that is.
I think it's sad that we have to say that people are arguing and having debates when we have the right to ask questions. And that's basically what all we did today, was ask questions on what was presented to us. And that's sad that we can't even do that without people or anyone, the city manager, feeling that we're attacking the staff or anyone else, because that's not the case. All we ask is for what Joy stated, just like you gave comps, or we're gonna get comps for the waste management or whatever, it's the same thing. But to feel like you're constantly being attacked, that's not fair to anybody up here. These are questions that we're allowed and it was elected to ask and elected to do, is to ask questions. People have the same questions that we're asking and we're basically getting a clarification for it. That's all I wanted to state.
Okay, we're gonna table this so that we have ample time for y'all to go and look through it more, so y'all can see what other questions and coming up with different avenues. If that be so, that we can do things differently. I do think that we do need to have our financial books looked at, whether it be an audit now or then do it, it needs to be looked at because we don't know
Where is our audit
what's there
from
from last
who's
year.
our audit person for this year? Where's that
Brooks
audit?
and Watson.
Because if that's right, Brooks and Watson. So if they're doing an audit, don't we have an audit team? So that's what I'm saying. Like, this is a consultant. I understand.
Well, the audit team is gonna come in and just do your look, and it's a random look, it's not an everything look. So, and they may say if they see something wrong, but they're gonna do a deep dive. So as far as, I would like to have a deep dive, just because I wanna know what's been missed, what processes haven't been done. And I don't know that when we pay the regular auditor, that really happens. Because we do audits where I've done audits before, where it's just they get a sample. And that sample is, if that sample's okay, they good to go. But they don't go and do a deep dive line by line. And that's what I think we need, so that we can know exactly where the money is, where it goes, where it went, and the whole bit, regardless of who does it. We still need something like that. And then we need to work on hiring a finance director. We're not gonna leave that out. We're gonna continue to work on that. But I just think we need to go in these questions that you ask. We haven't, I don't know that we've had a chance to really go back and think what was coming, because I didn't understand that that's what was gonna happen myself. So I'm thinking that we need to table this for a week, bring it up on the next agenda. And y'all, between that time, we've had some time to look and think and give Tom all of the options that y'all think we could do, to include TML.
I think it's more appropriate that you just vote down the proposal. If we're not going to accomplish all that and still bring this same issue back in 2 weeks.
Okay.
Wait, that's not a fair statement,
I didn't think so either, but.
because I do think this is a good idea. Because I would want anybody to come in and to check our processes, to make sure we're doing it, other than the once a year, let's just look at, like Mayor said, a snapshot of it, and that's what they see. This is a whole lot more in-depth dive, and processes could possibly be cleaned up and/or added if needed. But at the same time, we really need to get a finance director. So I think, for me, it's twofold. I'm okay with this because it only helps us look better, and it's very much more transparent for anybody as far as the city finances go. But at the same time, like I said, and this is just me, we need a finance director. So to say table it, or to not vote, or to vote no, that's not fair. It's not fair for me. I'm not speaking about anybody else. But I see it as twofold here.
I'm just saying procedurally, if you table it, then you bring back the same exact issue. Same exact contract, same exact resolution.
Except that you have people that could get questions answered that are here now. Because I, like Mayor, I wasn't quite understanding exactly how this would go. I get a much bigger picture now. And like I said, I can appreciate that, because anytime that somebody can come in and forensically audit, because that's what this is a forensic audit, is wonderful. I mean, anybody that's looking at the city as a whole and wants transparency, I think that's a great option. The other thing is, there needs to be a finance director. So I think they need to work in tandem. That's my thought. But if there are people who have questions, and I might have some because this is the first time we've seen it, that we could just digest that a little bit and bring it back, and then we can have a vote. And that's how I see it.
Well, if that's the case, that's fine. But the other questions and statements were getting other proposals, dealing with other people. That's not what's being proposed here. If all that's sought is specific questions about gradient in this proposal, if that's all the clarity we need, then yeah, that would be appropriate to table that. But if the desire is to open the door on the whole process, there's not really any point in going forward with this proposal at this point. But if what you said, if that's the case, that we're just needing clarification about what's being proposed, then tabling would be appropriate.
Okay, so.
I mean, I think you make valid points. I can't say that just getting questions answered are going to, again, because to your point, Sue, what is the plan for hiring a finance director? So if we were to vote on this, there's still no plan that I see, and I don't understand that. So I don't want to give any, false pretense of where I stand. I have questions, but I think you make some really valid points. I'm not completely opposed to this. I think I just have a lot of questions, especially what has been done or not done previously in regards to the finance director position.
Okay, so we need to move forward. I don't have an issue with who it is and going through and trying to find another, simply because an organization that I work, we pay them $7,000 a month for them. And so them being 10 and that's one person that we're paying $7,000 a month. And I griped at that, and then we did a little survey and found out that's pretty much what happens in Austin. And so doing 10, yeah, it is a lot of money. And I don't think they're going to, I don't think it's gonna take more than a year. In the meantime, we will be looking for a finance director and looking how we're looking, where we're putting it, where we're going out to look for one. This is a stopgap to make for sure that we get our stuff right. There may be things going on now that we don't know about that we need to fix. And the longer you wait, the worse the situation would be. So having knowledge of what we're, and it's not saying anything against the staff, it's just saying that they need help. We all need help. But in whatever we do, I need help right now with this. But we just need to make for sure that the intent is to hire a finance director. And the sooner we do it, of course, the better. But if we're gonna have them here to try to clean up things, that's exactly what it is. It's gonna be a cleanup and look to see what we're doing and what we're not doing and what could be better, because we need to know that. And I think this is just in between time. Now, if we do have all those questions that you want to propose, I still say we need to table it. And we're not gonna open it back up for, or it didn't go out for bid. I'm not sure how you got to this group, but we need to just make for sure, at least we have somebody that's in Georgetown, that's close. It's not in Dallas, nope, nothing against you, but Dallas is a little further. We have somebody right at hand that we could ask questions to and get a professional answer, and not just depending on our staff to try to figure it out. So I don't have a problem with that. But if y'all have other questions and ways you want it to go, then I say we table it to our next meeting, and then we go from there. But knowing, though, the intent, as I sit here and say loud, we will be working on hiring a finance director. This is not in place of. This is to get us on track to where we need to be.
Yeah, Mayor, I'd just follow up what you said. We need help. That's why we're doing this. We need help now. The reason there are concerns is we've been behind. We've gotten behind, so I don't, we've said every time we've been answered the question, we said our goal is to always hire a finance director. That this is not the permanent solution, but we've always worked on this for quite a bit, and we'll follow whatever direction the council has, but there's no question that every day we go without this kind of help puts us further behind.
So can I have?
I guess as the mayor, you can table it on your own.
Well, I'd like to have the council
Okay.
along with me, but I'm tabling it.
Okay, I won't say my piece now.
No, say yours next. Say what you gotta say.
This is exactly what we need right now. Not tomorrow, not 2 weeks from now. This is what we need right now. It's not a permanent solution, but this gets us going right now. This is what we need. There's still gonna be an on look for a finance director. That has nothing to do with this. These guys are coming in here and making sure we're getting our act together now. And we're gonna need at least 90 days to figure that crap out, because I wouldn't wanna get in there. So as far as I'm concerned, this is what we need. And there's still gonna be a position to find a finance director, whether it's through some third party or professional recruiter, whatever. But that has nothing to do with what we need now.
Thank you, Joe.
And I guess I'll just say it, that we can find a finance director if we increase the pay by about $50,000. We just got done cutting the budget. So there's not some magic solution to fill in this position.
I think
requires
that's
a
the kind of
higher
conversation
salary,
I
and
want
it's
to
got-
have.
It's, as we've talked about before, we can't just increase the salary of the finance director by $50,000. That affects everybody else in the senior staff. So increasing salaries it wasn't the takeaway I got from our meeting when we adopted the budget. So if that's the conversation you want to have, that's news to me.
All right, so this I am tabling until our next meeting. And,
Thanks.
Thank you for having us. We appreciate it.
We'll be talking to you.
y'all, whatever questions, things about, we need to get that into Tom before the next meeting. Okay. All right, number 2, an ordinance of the City of Elgin amending the traffic code by reducing the rate of speed on sections of FM 1100 and SL 109 in the city limits of the City of Elgin, defining speeding and fixing a penalty, therefore declaring what may be a sufficient complaint in prosecutors hereunder, with the saving clause repealing the conflicting ordinances or resolutions.
Thank you, Mayor. This is actually a follow-up, a request that the staff had made, the chief had made, of TxDOT. As we know, the Main Street is completely under their jurisdiction to create some consistency in the speed limit. I think you may know part of it is 40 miles an hour and part of it's 35 or, so anyway, but we're changing to make it consistent all the way through, but can you say exactly where it's changing from?
Yes, the change are between Highway 95 North and all the way up to North Main Street between 7th and 8th Street. And that's actually State Loop 109 at that point, where it crosses Taylor Avenue.
By the Shell station?
Yeah. Yes. And traffic survey was done where TxDOT stated that the speed limit, they were not necessarily recommending it. They said it would be allowable, that if we chose to do that, that resolution would need to be done establishing that the speed limit goes into effect through municipal court and a fine fee schedule be assigned to it. And it does make the speed limit consistent to where now it is between 35 in this section. We were hoping for 30, but nevertheless, it still does drop down to 30 at that point between 7th and 8th and remain so until you get back out closer to on the south side of Maine where it picks back up to 35.
So, this is on the north side of town. What about on the south side where it's 40? Is that, are y'all looking at that?
That's
around that corner?
That's TxDOT on their traffic survey. I requested that the entire length of Main Street be evaluated.
Okay.
So not a major change, but indicative of more traffic. That's what TxDOT's analysis warrants the reduction.
That's correct. You know, my philosophy on it was that that stretch of Main Street is residential in nature and has the Elgin Memorial Park there as well.
So you've already asked them to look at the entire Main Street?
That's correct.
Okay.
So, and just to clarify, they said they would only do this section, or they haven't gotten to that yet?
That I do not know. This is what their communication was actually through Public Works about, that the speed limit, that they said it could be reduced if we so chose in this particular area.
Is that something you can follow up on?
Yes.
Well, they did this in response to your request to lower the whole thing.
This was done back in January, and I had communications. That's when the traffic survey was done, and then I followed up again 6 weeks ago, wanting to know what the status was, and then this came out a week or two later.
We can verify, but presume they looked at the whole Main Street.
I can verify that, yes.
Yeah.
And just while you're here, do you recall, or off the top of your head, are all of the streets within the city a certain amount, the speed limit wise, or does it vary?
It does vary. There has to be a traffic survey done to measure the amount of traffic, how wide the street is, whether it's a residential street, the placement of, or how close residents are to each other to determine what the speed limit is. Under state law, all speed limits in the state of Texas are 30 miles per hour unless otherwise posted. And telling you how to make the clock, that's what time it is. But the city can set that speed limit anywhere on any city street that we so choose through an act through council. But a traffic impact or a traffic survey still must be done.
On every single street.
That's correct.
How much does that cost?
It's an engineering.
You put out a car counter and
Just to be clear, it's, council has a discretion or to set speed limit anywhere they want.
that's correct on a city street.
But it has to meet the warrants to make it enforceable.
That's correct. It has to,
So that's what this action tonight before the council is actually to, by ordinance, enable the police department to enforce this speed limit. But it has to be backed up by an engineering study. So that's why stop signs, any traffic control device has to be supported by the engineering analysis
correct.
for it to be legally enforceable.
Correct. And to establish, to follow on a fine that can be collected by municipal court.
Because I have a street, it's 20 miles an hour. I have no idea. It's always been 20 miles an hour. There has to be a reason. There had to be an engineering study, probably in the 1970s. I don't know. But it's 20 as opposed to everything else that's 30.
No, I mean, yeah, I hear that. I have lower speed limit envy on Old McDade Road.
Because mine's 40 in front of my house, which is,
Well, that's the
Yes.
state.
Yeah,
Mhm.
yeah.
yeah, well, I like it.
Okay, well, this is super helpful. I appreciate it.
I'm a creature of habit, so I know I'm gonna get a ticket on that road.
We can just go ahead and take care of that now. if you want.
Okay, I was getting ready to say that, just go on and give him his ticket.
All right. Okay, so any more discussion on this before we take a vote?
Mayor, I'll make a motion to approve the ordinance as stated.
I'll
Okay.
second.
All right, it's been moved in second. We'll begin with Mayor Pro Tem Brazier.
Frazier, yes.
McShane, yes?
Kaznowski, yes.
Gibson, yes.
Swain, yes.
Love, yes.
Okay. Motion carries. The next one is an ordinance to update the comprehensive schedule of fees and charges necessary to generate funding for general and specific operations required to satisfy service needs of the city and provide a savings clause, repeal conflicting ordinances or resolutions, and provide that the ordinance shall become effective as stated herein.
Thank you, Mayor. This is a routine annual approval of the updated comprehensive fee schedule. We've made the changes that were requested by Mayor Pro Tem Brazier and included in the budget adoption. This fee structure reflects the budget as adopted. This is just an annual exercise. We used to deal with different fees in different departments at different times, and so we a few years ago put this into one comprehensive schedule, so council approves it every year.
Any questions, comments?
Do we know how our fees, especially for kind of downtown or residential, compared to other cities like Bastrop or Taylor?
You're asking me, what fees?
How our fees,
I don't have that information. Typically, any analysis we do about cost, that's what we look at the time. Council is always, the councils I've worked here for, I've always been wanting to know that our fees are comparable to our neighboring communities. And so overall, we always try to do that.
I can tell you, just because I was here, that was done, I can't tell you how many years ago. But just with the growth that's going on, all of the new build, I talked to the city manager about reducing fees, permit fees for established residences to make sure that brand new pretty houses out. Wanted to make sure that we were considerate of those who wanted to update their homes that were existing. And so I requested that we just take them down some. So that was my request that this pertains to.
And all of your suggestions were taken?
Yeah, just for the record, that was, Mayor Pro Tem had submitted that before we adopted the budget. That was included in those comments, and those changes were made with the budget that was approved.
That I didn't touch, I didn't look through any new construction, anything. This was specifically for remodels, porches, decks, and houses that are existing.
And windows.
And
I
windows,
was gonna
because
say
it's
windows.
existing.
I was gonna say windows.
Yeah, I think I'm primarily curious about how we compare with our, probably, commercial for especially the downtown, and what those kind of impact costs are to, but, you know, business owners and then renters. So,
They're all existing, but you didn't do businesses though. You just did the residential. All right, so do we have a motion, Chuck Swain. Do I have a second? And we have a second by Mayor Pro Tem. We'll begin with Councilmember Swain.
Swain, yes.
Love, yes.
Frazier, yes?
McShane, yes?
Kozlowski, yes.
Gibson, yes.
The next is an ordinance amending Chapter 6, Article 9, Section 6265, amending Chapter 6, Article 11, Section 6330, Code of Ordinances, City of Elgin, Texas, and providing for a savings clause and repealing conflicting ordinances and resolutions.
This is about the windows with this year's too. Well then, was it more than one window or what? I
Yeah.
forgot the window.
So, sorry, this one required a little bit more because I worked with the city engineer because there was actually a specific thing that had to do with windows. What I found out was there was a non-written rule from long ago that was as long as you didn't replace more than 25% of the windows, there was no permit fee. It was not recorded and not documented. So in this instance, it is now documented, and that's what this states. It's just I said, well, instead of it just being verbal, let's just put it in writing. And so Bo wrote it and sent it up to Tom, and that's why this one is specific because it was a little bit different. It's a percentage. So if you're replacing windows and you're just replacing one or two, less than 25% of your entire house, there's no permit fee involved. If you do it all, then you're gonna pay a permit fee, and that's what this specifically states in the ordinances.
Doesn't affect the amount of the permit, the amount of the fee.
It just says will be required.
Right.
So that's all. Okay. What if we do two at a time? And come back.
Figure
to two
25%,
more?
I'll help you do the math.
If you like to sue, you do it on the weekend.
Cal puts it in there. Okay, do we have a motion? Or any questions? I'm sorry, any questions about this? Okay, we have a motion?
So moved, Mayor.
Okay, and Love, second? And we'll begin with Mayor Pro Tem Frazier.
Frazier, yes?
McShane, yes?
Kozlowski, yes.
Gibson, yes.
Swain, yes.
Love, yes.
Okay. And the next one is a resolution for the City Council, City of Elgin, Texas, to authorize application to the Texas Department of Motor Vehicles Crime Prevention Authority for grant funds to be utilized by the Elgin Police Department, and to authorize the city manager to execute said agreement.
This is a standard resolution to, as it says, that's required for this grant application to authorize the staff to file it. Chief, you want to tell them a little bit about what it's about? What's the grant for? Tell me again.
This particular case, the Texas Department of Motor Vehicles, their Motor Vehicle Crime Prevention Authority has opened up a grant application window for, this is, falls under the category for catalytic converter thefts, is what it was originally started for. However, you can use it for much more as part of that to target catalytic converter theft. And so with this, we would use it to increase the number of flock cameras around the city in conjunction with, to be compliant with what the needs are or what the requirements for this particular grant are. And it is a 80-20 commitment where we had always wanted to essentially double the amount of cameras that we have. We currently have 13, and so in looking at what the needs are to put an effective perimeter around the city of what's coming and going on 290, 95, and these are almost all exclusively TxDOT right-of-way cameras now. And so for those 12 cameras, it's $38,000. And so if we get the grant would be $30,400 of that. The city would be responsible for $7,600 for those cameras. And then Flock would also be waiving the $13,900 one-time installation fee as well. And so I think it's a unique opportunity, and I know funding is tight. But I think this is one of those, falls into that category, like with other grants, where we can get a significant investment for a small amount of money. Return.
This action tonight is just to authorize the grant application.
That is correct.
No commitment of funds.
No. The Texas DMV, this is one of those things they just want to ensure that we are serious when we make that application.
Thanks, Chief.
Do I have a motion? Any questions about that? Okay. Motion from Swain. Do I have a second?
I'll second. I thought it was for SWAT vehicles.
For SWAT vehicles. Okay, we begin with Councilmember Swain.
Swain, yes.
Oh, Love, yes.
Frazier, yes.
McShane, yes.
Kesnowski, yes.
Gibson, yes.
All right, that motion carries. And I do believe that is the end of our, we have any announcements other than, oh, God. Sorry.
You got an announcement?
We got it. Okay.
If you guys think back to when we started the police department project, we had that 200 block of Depot Street closed. The whole building took up the footprint of the lot. We needed a laydown area. We're getting close to an area where we'll open that 200 block of Depot. And I do this for Amy. We're going to do some public outreach. I need to remind you guys that it's going to be a one-way eastbound. So when the barricades move, we get excited to drive out that way. We'll say the same thing in our public media post, but just want to remind you, you used to be able to go this way. Now you're just going to be able to go that way. Just want to remind you that. It's going to be a great space to have the Hogeye Festival. We're going to try it out during that time. But at some point when we do move the barricades, we just want to remind the public it's one way.
All right.
Thanks, ma'am.
I'm sorry, this was giving me a good day. There's a group that's actually in Rockney, Texas. They're doing a Veterans Day Appreciation Luncheon. I have some stuff for you to take to the VFW. It's on Sunday, November 10th. It's free for veterans. And I'll give all the information to you. And I'll give one thing. But anyway, they're inviting their neighbors' cities, so anybody from Elgin can go and have a free meal on Veterans Day.
All right, anything else? It is 8:06.